Okay, the tools that we use for painting are really just a couple of 2.5 quart containers, some chip brushes, maybe a faux finishing brush, and a sea sponge. That's predominantly the only tools that you really need. The color system that we're using is a nano pigment color called Opus from a company called Concrete Earth. And nanopigmentation is so fine, it's entirely small, very fine. That's why it's called nano, very small, as opposed to micro. So we simply take our chip brush. We already have our mold piece here that's finished to natural stone, and then we take our chip brush and we just make sure that we get all along the whole piece here with our particular color. And you pick random colors. You can pick a color over here, do a couple stones in that particular color, and then you can switch out to a different color. Don't worry about the grout lines, because the grout lines are inconsequential at this point. We're going to go back and we're going to cover that with a real grout. So just pick a few stones for the color and tag them with your nano pigmentation, your Opus. If perchance you use a color that you don't like or just doesn't fly or doesn't pass, you could either cover it over with a couple other stains and layer it so that it creates a new blend of color, or you could just start with a new piece. But I'd suggest that you know exactly what you're wanting to use before you start the process, because these colors are designed to penetrate and to stain permanently.
Are you going to experiment on those little chunks that break off?
Because you don't get a do-over, you have to throw the whole thing out.
Well, you can cover up the color.
If it was a lighter color, but if it's a dark
Well, if it's a darker color, you can cover it with a lighter color. The stains I'm using right now are translucent, which means you can layer them. But it's not difficult what I'm doing. This whole process is not difficult at all. A base color, a base stain down on all these pieces. Once I get this base color down, then we can experiment with a couple other methods.
Who's chewing their mint?
Open your mouth.
Use I was interviewing a guy one time who had a pen in his hand below the desk, and you kept hearing click, click. I didn't realize it until we were finished.
Now, once you get your base colors down, it's real simple. All we've done is just tag these. Now what you can start to do is incorporating other methods of painting, like for instance with your sponge. Normally you'll take a light color and you can put on your sponge the color, and you'll put it right on top of a dark stone, and that will create a pattern of color. And vice versa. You can take, and what you want to do is you want to keep two sponges, one for light colors and dark colors, various sponges. If you try to put dark colors back on top of here, you're just going to start blending and getting a whole new color. So keep one sponge for dark colors and the other sponge for light colors. So let's come over here. Let's take a little bit of this red here.
Which one are you going to go to so I can be there first?
Okay, I'm going to do...
How about that big one?
I'm going to do the one right here. Now what we'll do is we'll take a completely different color that's like more red, of a lighter. Hard to see that color, but there's a zircon or a red. If you need something to be a little bit more prominent, you could always just take your brush and tag it and create a striation line of color. I'll get a more lighter color or a more dark. Now your faux finish brush comes in.
Slow down. Hang on, let me get the, okay, go.
Now you can take your faux finish brush and blot the surface, because what that'll do is soften out the edges of the colorant that you just put down. And that just helps blend the colors before they have a chance to get in there. You could take also and let your colors just drip right on the surface of the stone. And if you can get a flicking action, which is a little bit difficult to do with this brush here, but just give me a second. You can go back and blot the colors that are there, or the drips. You drip on purpose because you want color to be on top of there, more concentrated. Also, if you have a dirty brush, which would be, there's colorant on the tips of these bristles, you could also take that and clean off your brush, so to speak, on a light stone. Or if it's a dark color, you can do the opposite on a darker stone. But ultimately what's happening is we're creating a rich color over the surface of our stones. And this process can go on and on and on. You can color these up until your heart's content. You can continue to layer over and over and over. And the reason why you can do that is because these are translucent. So once you have a layer of color, you can begin to build upon that color and create a whole array of colors, even within one stone. I mean, nature does it all the time. You can do it too. Now, the next phase is to allow this to dry. In arid climates, it should only take about a half an hour for it to set up. After it's dry, the bonders and resins will be locked in, and we can move on to the next step, which will be adding our grout to the grout lines. What do you got there as far as the color?
So dark.
The last part of the faux finishing process is adding the grout to the piece itself. It already has grout lines in the mold or in the piece, but what we're going to do is we're going to take a slurry coat of the existing, of a mortar, of a grout, and we're going to paint it right into the grout lines. By doing this, the grout doesn't serve a structural purpose, but more of a decorative aesthetic purpose. So by coating all these grout lines over again, we're putting a fine film of cement over an existing grout line. This is achieved by just using a chip brush and painting it, so to speak, right in place. You'll see that the grout is going up onto the stone. Don't worry about that. That's fine. Because we're going to come back with a sponge and we're going to dab off the top of the stone. and it
Sounds like you're in Chicago.
creates a noise. After the grout has been painted into the grout lines, then we're going to take our sponges and we're going to lightly go over the rock. They don't need to be super wet, they just need to be damp. And then working from the inside out, we're just going to take away the excess grout that falls on top of the stone. Keep rotating your sponge slightly and using a clean side of the sponge, and all we're going to do is clean off of the top of the stone. Now in this process, we'll leave a little bit of Portland's, let's call it dirty water, on top of the stone, and that'll ash out. It will start to dry and ash out. You can remove that or leave that on there for effect, depending on what your desire, the overall desire is. If you leave more of it on there, it gives more of an aged look to the stone. But this is the same process that a mason would do if he was in a house or something, cleaning off the stone from the mortar, from the grout that he put in with a baker's bag.
So masons are kind of like typewriters, and we have computers now.
I don't know. Masons are typewriters.
Dinosaurs. Nobody's going to use them anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this. You know those old typewriters you see lying around? You go, who's using that?
What is that? Some kids might not even know what that is. Do you like this process? Just a bunch of tricks put together to get an effect, you know? And it really does look like stone.
Yeah, it does.